In our last lesson, we were solving percents using the proportion method. Today we're going to be solving the same type of problems, but this time we're going to be translating them into an equation and solving them using the equation method. So, if you remember what we did on our last lesson, we learned a proportion of is over of. You put that on one ratio on the one side of the proportion, and then you put the percent over 100 on the other side of the proportion, and you can solve it that way. Today we're going to translate it directly into an equation. So here's how it works. Find 60%. When you have a percent, you have to convert the percent into a decimal. To convert a percent into a decimal, you take the decimal, which is at the end, and you're going to move it 2 places to the left. So the percent would be 6/10. Of, in our math, means to multiply. So we're taking the percent, 60%, and we're multiplying it times 96. So it's this one step right here of turning the percent into the decimal that makes this a little bit different from the proportion method where you didn't have to worry about that. Now, once you do that, you're just typing it into the calculator. So I'm typing it into my calculator. So when I type it in, I find it is 57 6/10. Okay, so remember the word of means to multiply. If there is a percent, you're going to turn it into a decimal by moving the decimal point 2 places to the left. Okay, 62% of 75. Again, we're going to take the 62%. The decimal on this number is at the end, so we move it 2 places to the left, and you would have 62 hundredths of means to multiply times 75. So it's just 62 hundredths times 75. Typing that into my calculator. 62 times 75, and you get 46.5. 46 5/10. So basically we're just translating what we're reading into an equation and then using our calculators to figure it out. Okay, look at this one. This time we're finding the percent. 15, so we write 15. When we see the word is, that's where our equal sign is. So 15 equals, or is, what percent, so it's the percent that we're looking for, so that's our x, of, and we're multiplying that times 125. And we have learned that when we're multiplying an unknown number times a number that we know, instead of writing x 125, we always put the number in front of the variable. The coefficient goes in front, so we would write it 125x. So all of this on this, what percent of, means you're multiplying an unknown number times 125, and we write it 125x. Now this is a one-step equation. We have learned that when a variable is being multiplied by a number, we have to divide both sides by that number. So I'm going to take my calculator here. 15 divided by 125 is 12 hundredths. Now there's one more step we have to do, and this step we did not have to do in the proportion method. We have a decimal, but it's asking for a percent, so we have to convert the decimal into a percent. We're going to go the opposite. This time you're going to multiply it times 100, which means move it 2 places to the right, and it would be 12%. So this converting it from a decimal into a percent is something we did not have to do in the proportion method, but you do have to do in the equation method. $287, so we write 287 is, which means equals, and if you look at this next phrase, what percent of 410? What percent is our unknown? We're multiplying that times 410, so when we write it, we write 410 times x, 410x. Now to solve for x, we divide both sides by 410. We're going to get a decimal, and then we're going to convert that decimal into a percent. 287 divided by 410. 7/10. So to turn a decimal into a percent, we multiply it times 100, which means we move the decimal 2 places to the right, which would give us 70%. Here it is again with the PowerPoint slide. Okay, this time 40, so we write 40 is, that's our equal sign, 0.8%. Now remember, whoops, I shouldn't write that yet. When we have a percent, we have to convert it to a decimal. So look where the decimal is. To convert it to a decimal, we have to move it 2 places to the left. So that would give us 8 thousandths of times what number, or unknown number? So 0.008x. Now we have to divide both sides by 0.008. And let me take my calculator, 40 divided by 0.008. And we get 5,000. Okay, so in every one of these equations, anytime you have a percent, you have to convert it to a decimal in order to do our equation. And at the end, the other way, if you have a percent, you have to, or if you have a decimal, you have to turn it into a percent. If you have a percent, you have to turn it into a decimal. So you have to be really good at converting between decimals and percents to do the equation method. Okay, 33 is or equals 55%. Again, we have a percent, so we convert it to a decimal by moving the decimal over 2 places. So 55 hundredths times what number? Which means x, the unknown number. So now we divide both sides by 55 hundredths. Calculator, 33 divided by 55 hundredths, and it equals 60. So basically we've learned 2 methods, the proportion method and the equation method. Try both methods and see which way you like working them the best. Either way works, and you can use which one works for you the best.